So this latest episode of My Hero Academia stood to provide us with a better understanding of where the story is heading from here on out. And we would begin this with Hawks entering into a meeting wherein many villains were present. Now for me, there are a couple of things that I would like to take note of with this meeting. First and foremost, we have the fact that Toga is the only one with a tablet, whereas everyone else has laptops. I feel like that is a nice little touch that serves to exemplify her age a bit in comparison to everyone else who is present. And perhaps beyond age, it may be a professionalism thing as well. Beyond that, there is no Shigaraki, which is interesting. And we would additionally have the presence of a yet unnamed character who would question the proceedings of Hawks and additionally commend him for his efforts. Now, as many of you may know at this point, the My Hero Academia anime took the liberty of switching around a few events that happened in the manga for whatever reason, more than likely for the sake of the movie that is coming out relatively soon in Japan. That being said, we do actually have a video on the subject, and I can understand where they're coming from with this decision. But I will say, for things like this, for those of you who are familiar with the content of the manga, I'm not a big fan because it does provide a bit of spoilers for those who may not actually want to have that. To me, it eliminates a bit of suspense that I as a reader of the manga had in the midst of these events. And so when you have something like this in addition to the intro visuals, I am not a big fan at all. And it's very clear they are trying to shroud these characters in shadow to keep things mysterious, but even still, when you have them loud and proud in your intro, it kinda doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have that same mystery value. And please forgive me if I am being a bit vague. I am trying to avoid spoiling anyone who doesn't want to be here. But yeah, Hawks is a very sketchy character. He is two-faced, he is sneaky, and thankfully, he is still on the side of heroism at the end of the day, as he will continue to listen in on the conversation of these villains by way of a lone feather. And it was thanks to this that he was able to overhear that the villains intend to destroy everything in 4 months' time. A revelation that he would later encode into his message to Endeavor. Hawks is a very intelligent character to be able to do this, and Endeavor is certainly a reliable #1 hero, considering he was able to not only decipher this, but also put 2 and 2 together and realize that the Public Safety Commission is also in on all this. And not only this, but they intend to have the Hero Corps students be a second layer of defense in case things really hit the fan. This is a very delicate situation and needs to be handled as such. But at the very least, they do have 4 months. They do have time to prepare and advance. So it seems as though we are going to be entering a sort of training arc wherein our characters are going to be able to get that much stronger to be able to handle these preceding threats. And I really enjoyed the visuals to accompany this, wherein we were able to see all of these characters, all of these various Hero Corps students out and about in their own field studies outside of this whole Endeavor group. And considering we have just transitioned from the Class 1A, Class 1B joint training battles, it is nice to see Class B involved in this as well, as it is always very nice to see this full cast of characters be utilized. But anyways, from there we would actually get back to the Class 1A Big 3 and their training with Endeavor. And in considering the intentions of the Public Safety Commission, Endeavor, as opposed to what he would normally do, just train Shoto, he decided to train them all properly and would firstly come to get a better grasp of what they intend to accomplish in this time. And in the case of Deku, with him having just unlocked Black Whip, he of course was interested in being able to use that to its utmost capabilities. The expression of which being comedically over detailed, however, Endeavor was able to keep up with everything that Deku was saying, which is kind of a first. I don't think that any other character has been able to decipher the endless talking of Deku before. So yeah, pretty much what Burnin said, that was definitely a #1 hero quality. Now in the case of Bakugo, he wanted to uncover what he lacks, what he does not have, considering his quirk for his entire life that he's had it has been pretty much omnipotent. Its versatility being virtually unmatched, and so he really needed to know what he was lacking, because as he has now come to understand, power alone, strength alone, does not make a #1 hero. And lastly, we would have Shoto, who Endeavor would actually dismiss in regards to what he wanted to learn, but Shoto would make it clear to his father here that he intended to be a proper hero and not be babied with this whole father-son thing that is a complete falsehood considering their history together. And Endeavor would recognize this and treat him as such. And I think this establishment was very important. I think that Shoto needed to express that boundary between himself and his father, because clearly Endeavor was working off of his own delusions at this point. But yeah, Endeavor would recognize and treat these three like proper heroes as they would then go out into the field. And here the professionalism, the expertise and experience of Endeavor would be made abundantly clear as the moment he got the alert there was work to be done, he was off, as our three heroes in training would rush off after him. Endeavor's efficiency was staggering, and his precise control over his own quirk was astounding. Once the first job was done, he was then off to the next just like that, as they would again attempt to keep up with him. And all the while, Bakugo would use the excuse that his quirk is not at its full potential in the winter. However, just then, Endeavor would save a woman from being sent to an isekai, as he would then rebut that excuses are useless here. This is not the classroom, this is the field where things go down. That excuse is not gonna work, especially when you are saving lives. And I don't think that there is any better example of this. These three were lagging behind, and if it weren't for Endeavor, this woman's life would be taken. They would not be fast enough to stop this speeding car. And so I am sure that this tough bit of reality certainly hit them all like a truck. And Endeavor would furthermore provide them with a bit of advice in regard to the further advancement of their quirk usage. Shoto pretty much needed to control his flames to the same extent that he is able to control his ice, which isn't exactly a groundbreaking point, but it is certainly true, he does need to do that. In regards to Deku, the concept of parallel processes was especially stressed. And furthermore, Endeavor would actually tell him to forget about training Black Whip here, that what he actually needs to do is further advance what he is competent with to the point where it is like driving a car, where you are doing multiple things all to achieve a singular goal. Pretty much stressing the importance of the fundamentals. There's no point in training a new shot, a new special move, when you are not ready at your base level. And I for one really appreciate Endeavor's tutelage here. I think that he has actually done more for Deku in regards to training his power and giving him meaningful advice in regards to his power than All Might ever has. And that's not necessarily the fault of All Might. He kind of got this naturally the moment he had the power, the moment he became the possessor. It kind of just came to him naturally, whereas Deku has had to fight tooth and nail to be able to use his power properly. And Endeavor is clearly a character who has worked really hard to get to where he is right now. So ultimately, Endeavor is just a better fit, something that I would have never expected to be saying back when we first met the character during season 2. But yeah, here we are, and these 4 months of training have only just begun. And that was the episode. Now, considering this episode and all the ones that came before it, I have to admit that I am a bit concerned. It is clear that My Hero Academia as an anime is spreading itself out a bit thin for the sake of its movie. And we know that there is going to pretty much be a new movie every single year, so every season of My Hero Academia for the foreseeable future is going to be impacted by things like this. This is stuff that we talked about with the beginning of the season and hoped would clean itself up later on as we progressed, but at this point it has yet to do so, and the flashbacks are heavy. There are many flashbacks to be had with this episode, and they seem to attempt to do so in interesting ways, but I don't know, it kind of feels like a slideshow of past events at pretty much every turn. And maybe this is simply because I edit this stuff all the time, but seeing all this over and over and over again is a bit of a drag. One of the things that made My Hero Academia Season 2 stand out and be the breakout hit that it was to get My Hero Academia going in the way that it is now, as compared to Season 1, was the pacing. Season 1 was very slow. It was adapting chapters very slowly, whereas Season 2 was doing it as it properly should be. And it feels like Season 5 is now reverting to that formula a bit, and thankfully they do have the legroom to be able to do that because there is a massive fan base behind all this. But even as such a big fan, I am getting a bit tired of this slow progression. But maybe that's just me, although I am very curious what you guys may be thinking about all this, so please let us know down in the comments down below, and you can additionally hit us up over on Twitter and Instagram at PlotArmorYT. And I mean, if you're already going that far anyways, don't forget to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on, because when it comes to bringing you some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.